Growing up in the Lansing area, I was a huge fan of the Schuler bookstores. They were a great place to find almost any book or publication you were looking for, and also a wonderful shop to grab some coffee and mingle with friends. Joining us now are the owners of Schuler Books, Bill and Cecile Fehsenfeld. Thank you so much for joining us today, folks.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
So people might be asking, why are the owners of Schuler Books joining us on a West Bloomfield television show? Would you folks like to tell us the exciting news about Schuler Books in West Bloomfield?
Yeah.
Well, we're on our way to being part of the community. We're going to open a store there.
So do you know exactly the exact location of it and what the timetable is for when you're going to be opening?
Yeah, it's in Gateway Center, which is on Orchard Lake Road, just north of 14 Mile. And we're aiming to open late winter, early spring. It's underway right now, getting ready.
And I think there's two vacant areas over there right now. One was a Steinmart and one was a PetSmart. Which location is it going to be in? Do you know?
We're in PetSmart.
Okay, PetSmart. So yeah, so you're right next to. I think you're on the end. Are you on the end, or there's a Henry Ford Eye Center right there?
We're next to the optimized Henry Ford optician. Yeah, and at the other end of that strip is the Whole Foods and Walgreens. So
yeah, it's a very
great
good
mall.
Very good location.
So could you folks tell us a little bit about the history of Schuler Books? What inspired you to open a bookstore in the first place, and where was the first location?
Yeah.
Well, I guess we ought to start with the fact that we met at a bookstore many, many years ago.
Yeah, in Ann Arbor. Actually, Cecile grew up in Georgia, but decided she wanted to move north, and the first place she landed was in Metro Detroit area.
Mm-hmm.
And
a lady that I knew there who was putting me up temporarily said, "No, you need to go check out Ann Arbor." And so I did, and it was great.
And we're both the type of person who would haunt bookstores and love to read, love books. And I was working at a textbook store at the time, and Cecile walked in and took a job there, and that's where we met.
Yeah,
so,
and I studied English undergraduate and graduate, so we're both big readers.
And then how did that come to where you said, hey, we're going to start our own bookstore?
Yeah, okay. So after I graduated from the University of Michigan, I worked for 5.5 years at Borders when they only had one store, and it was there in Ann Arbor. And as we started our family, we thought it'd be nice to be near my parents in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And so we started looking in the Grand Rapids area for a potential location to open our own bookstore, which we found and opened in 1982. So we are just celebrating, actually, tomorrow's the exact day, 40 years from when we first opened the doors of our first bookstore in Grand Rapids.
Wow, happy anniversary, early anniversary.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about, I mentioned at the top, some of your stores have these great cafes. Can you talk about those cafes and how that adds to the experience for customers shopping at a bookstore? And will the West Bloomfield location have a cafe?
Yeah, the space is not really big enough to accommodate that. And so we won't be doing a cafe. And in fact, there's some restriction because there's some other food providers in that mall. But just to give you context, that's a 19,000 square foot space. And the store you're familiar with in Okemos, the Lansing area, is 24,000 square feet. So, about 3,000 of that is dedicated to the cafe. It's just, there's not room to do it adequately and give the kind of presentation we want for the bookstore. So we did, about 8 years ago, we purchased a store in Ann Arbor that had been in business for 17 years, and the owner was looking to retire. And it does not have a cafe. It has a lot of food options right close by, which is similar to West Bloomfield. And we found that works perfectly well for us. Lets us focus entirely on our core mission, what we want to do, which is operate, a wonderful bookstore for people to shop and hang out in and so on.
So could you give us your online presence where people can reach out and so they can get updates on when exactly the West Bloomfield location is going to open?
Yeah, absolutely. Our website, of course, www.schulerbooks.com, which is SCHULERBOOKS.com. Also on Facebook, you can search for Schuler Books. We have a big presence there, and also recently, the last couple of years on TikTok, we had a viral posting on TikTok that I can't remember what the score is now, but it was multiple millions of views and followers from all over the world, actually, who have been following that. But Facebook is a very good place to stay up to date on things as they develop.
Well, I can't tell you how excited everyone is for this bookstore to be opening. About 5 years ago, they closed the Barnes & Noble, so we have been without a bookstore for all these years. So we cannot wait until you guys open, and we'd love to be there for your grand opening.
That's really great to hear that. So you like to sit down with a real book?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and,
Yeah.
and still a newspaper as well. So
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think there's a lot of people that really do like to do that. And they love to come into a bookstore and peruse and just walk around, looking at one aisle after the other. It's part of the process of seeing what's available and seeing what you want to read, and being around other people who are reading and stopping and talking to somebody who's working there and ask them if they've read it. It becomes kind of in a way, a big family of people who are really committed to the written word. It's a happy thing that we've been doing. Good profession.
Yeah, people wonder about how you compete with the online world, and what we offer is an environment. One of our booksellers was telling us just the other day about a friend who told her she had had a very stressful day, and she just needed to relax, and she thought, I'll go to Schuler Books because I just enjoy hanging out there. It's a social experience for people, and it's interesting. During the pandemic, our online sales basically skyrocketed when people couldn't go out and shop, but the experience people had was very different than you normally would have online, where you're interacting with an algorithm. People might order a book, and they might order an edition that had gone out of print, so they chose the wrong edition. And they get a phone call from one of our booksellers who would say, that copy, that particular edition of the book is not available, but we do have the current edition. May I send that to you? So even online, they have that personal interaction with our booksellers. And we've been really lucky. The people who have worked in our stores are terrific. Great with our book-loving customers.
Well, that's something we're going to look forward to here in West Bloomfield. Bill and Cecile Fehsenfeld, we want to thank you so much for joining us. They're the owners of Schuler Books, coming to West Bloomfield.